Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's your old pal, Mr. Greg, coming to you from Mr. Greg's top secret undisclosed broadcasting location with this week's video. What with current events as of late, I'm sure you're all just as outraged as Mr. Greg. What with SpaceX's recent launch, there has been rising controversy surrounding the images taken from the Dragon spacecraft, and people, like Mr. Greg, are seeking answers. For those of you who may not be aware of what is happening, I'll start at the beginning. Mr. Greg, like so many, was raised being told that the Earth is round. And while I think that we each know deep down in our gut this to be false, the truth is still being kept from us, and Mr. Greg demands answers. But rather than coming forth with the truth, it would seem that the vast population would prefer to ridicule Mr. Greg and continue to mock inquisitive minds everywhere. Beyond this, I think it's quite obvious that the footage taken from the Dragon spacecraft has been photoshopped to support the disk Earth theory. I mean that this has clearly been altered to look like this. So for the first time ever, Mr. Greg would like to show you the truth. Now, like so many great men that have come before him, such as Galileo, Magellan, and Rick James, Mr. Greg does expect some scrutiny, but he knows that none of his viewers are closed-minded or stupid. Mr. Greg's new model is one that answers all questions. It is the sum of all theories, and one that simply cannot be challenged. So it is without further ado that for the first time ever, Mr. Greg unveils the first look at the true model of Earth. Now, while I am sure that quite possibly maybe not every single one of Mr. Greg's viewers will agree with his opinion, it is science. But nonetheless, while some of these viewers, the non-believers, will run to their computer now to Google true Earth models, thank you for watching another Mr. Greg's public service announcement broadcasting to you from Mr. Greg's top secret undisclosed broadcasting location. Let's start this week's song. Alright, you guys, this week's song is a special one for me. It's the Traveling Willburys' Handle Me With Care. If you guys don't know the Traveling Willburys, it was a compilation group between George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, and Roy Orbison. This one's a dedication this week. My father, Gregory Dalton Sr., turned 70 on Friday, and it's because of him that I got into music at an early age, and Tom Petty specifically being my first favorite artist. And I remember as a kid myself hanging around the house while my dad would be playing this song on the stereo, just full blast. So this one goes out to you, Dad. All right, sentimental note over. Let's get to Tune Your Guys' Ukes. You'll remember from all other videos that your second fret of the G string produces the same A note as your open A, that the E string fifth fret produces that same A note as your open A, and that your C string fourth fret produces the same E note as your open E. Now if that sounds good, as always, skip ahead to the chord and strumming section, otherwise we'll get you guys tuned right now. This is how your G should sound. Your C. Your E. And your A. Okay, this song uses some pretty basic chords. It starts with your D. You can do the 3-finger version, or you'll see that I bar it. And I know some of you use the thumb too. That's all right, but we just don't want to get too clenchy and too tight in the wrists. The chord that follows the D is going to be your D7. So for those of us doing the 3-finger version, you can just add your pinky right there on the 3rd fret. If you're doing a bar, you have your bar and you just add an extra finger there. See right there. Those of us doing the thumb, this one's going to get a little tricky. So, experiment, find out what works good for you. But you can have a thumb there, and then you can add finger there on the A string 3rd fret. The next chord is your G. Then you've got a C. And you've got an E minor, which you're welcome to do either the 2-finger version or the 3-finger version. And that's pretty much it for the chords. Now the strumming for this is going to be your island strum or your down, down, up, up, down, ups for every chord in the body of the song, except for those in brackets or for those in the chorus. So, for instance, on that opening line, the G over battered, when it says been beat up and battered around, that gets a down, down, up, down, up, only one of them. But when you get down to the chorus, every chord in the chorus gets 2 down, down, up, down, ups. Now, chords in the brackets are a little bit of a different story. Those are going to be 2 down strums each, and they're going to be quarter notes. So, and that goes for everything in the intro and the outro as well. So, if you look at that first line, been beat up and battered around, it starts with your D, and it's 1, 2, D7, 3, 4, and then G. Down, down, up, down, up. And that's pretty much everything there is to the tune. Keep in mind that on the second page, it's going to tell you to jump back to the pre-chorus and play the pre-chorus and the chorus from the first page because there's no change in lyrics. And then just be prepared after you jump back to the second page for the last verse and the outro. And that's the tune. So let's give it a shot, you guys. All right, you guys, we're going to get into the Traveling Willburys' Handle Me With Care here in just a moment. But first, a brief disclaimer. Because there are 5 very distinct frontmen, each with very distinct voices, please do not lose your place if you start laughing because Mr. Greg potentially messes up attempting to emulate each of these very distinct frontmen's voices. With that being the case, let's go ahead and let's get started. Been beat up and battered around, been set up and I've been shot down, but you're the best thing that I've ever found. Handle me with care. Reputations changeable, situations tolerable, but baby, you're adorable. Handle me with care. I'm so tired of being lonely, I still have some love to give. Won't you show me that you really care? Everybody's got somebody to lean on. Put your body next to mine and dream on. I've been fobbed off and I've been fooled. I've been robbed and ridiculed. Daycare centers and night schools. Handle me with care. Stuck in airports, terrorized, sent to meetings, hypnotized, overexposed, commercialized. Handle me with care. I'm so tired of being lonely, I still have some love to give. Won't you show me that you really care? Everybody's got somebody to lean on. Put your body next to mine and dream on. I've been uptight and made a mess, but I've cleaned up myself, I guess. Oh, the sweet smell of success. Handle me with care. Alright, guys, there you go. The Traveling Willburys. Handle Me with Care, with all 5 very distinct frontmen's voices from yours truly, Mr. Greg. See you guys next week.